What is up guys, it's Solheim here, back with another Wrath of the Lich King Classic video. So I've done a couple of class guides so far, talking about some different classes and why that class in particular is good for farming gold in Wrath of the Lich King. And today I'm basically mixing all of those videos together into one video, and I'm using a tier list to make it visually easy to understand where each class stands in comparison to each other. We all know by now that each class brings different strengths and weaknesses to different types of farms. For example, Druids can use flight form to their advantage when farming herbalism or mining, Paladins can use their Crusader aura to fly even faster while gathering things or hunting rares, basically anything that involves mounted movement speed, and Death Knights also has a talent that gives them the same mounted speed bonus. Mages are insane for AoE farming, and Hunters and Warlocks are great for soloing elites. In this video, I hope to help you guys understand more about each class in regards to gold farming, as well as just give you guys an idea about each class's specific gold making abilities. Before we get into this video, if you're looking to make as much gold as possible in Wrath of the Lich King Classic, make sure you check out my Wrath Classic Gold Guide, which is linked down below in the video description, which includes all of the gold making information that I have for Wrath of the Lich King. It has different gold farms, gold making investments, gold making methods and strategies, as well as lesser known gold making secrets. So if you want access to all of that, make sure you check out that guide down below, and make sure to use the code Solheim for 50% off. Once you purchase the guide, you will also receive all of the future updates for free, always keeping you up to date with the best and most relevant gold making information. So once again, check out that guide through the link down below, and let's pull up that tier list. First up, let's talk about Paladins. Paladins have insane potential and could end up being the absolute best class for gold farming in Wrath of the Lich King. Exactly how strong they will be for gold farming relies a little bit on how Blizzard does things for Wrath Classic. Like for example, there was an interview with Brian Birmingham a couple of weeks ago, where they touched briefly on the topic of boosting, where Brian said they were looking at implementing some of the changes that they added to Season of Mastery that helped reduce boosting spam in general, and one of the changes they made to Season of Mastery was that players who kill an enemy while in a group with one or more players at a much higher level than the slain enemy will receive significantly less experience, effectively nerfing and killing boosting by a huge margin and making it pretty much non-existent. If they do something similar to combat boosting in Wrath Classic, boosting will no longer be an option, but Paladins can still solo old dungeons for incredible loot and raw gold. Stratholm farming and sulfuric farming will still be pretty profitable, and having access to 10 new levels and even better gear, level 80 Paladins can even solo TBC Classic dungeons. Having played a Retribution Paladin on Wrath servers myself, I can also say that they feel incredible at pretty much all types of gold farms. You can go Protection for insane damage, or you can go Retribution for insane damage and smaller pulls, or you can go Protection for absolutely massive big pulls with a slower burn effect when it comes to killing the mobs. Having access to Crusader aura, Paladins are also really good at gathering professions like herbalism and mining. So yeah, Paladins are overall a great choice for gold farming in Wrath, and are an obvious S tier class in my opinion. Next up then, Mages. Mages are actually quite amazing at farming gold. First of all, they are the AoE farming kings, absolutely dominating the AoE farming scene with their huge Blizzard pulls. I've made a whole video talking about the Mage for gold farming, where I go even more in depth into their AoE abilities, but when it comes to, for example, boosting dungeons, they are in the same boat as Paladins, awaiting judgment from Blizzard on exactly what they are going to do about the dungeon boosting. All of this being said, Mages are also quite decent at single target farming, having the ability to slow down mobs 24/7 with Frostbolt, and with new abilities such as Frostfire Bolt and Deep Freeze in Wrath of the Lich King, their single target damage has been boosted significantly, so it's not like their only strength is AoE farming, even though that is what they excel at. I've put Mages into S tier for gold farming right next to Paladins. Next up then, another popular class in Wrath of the Lich King, Warlocks. How are they when it comes to gold farming? Frankly, not a lot is changing from TBC. They are still amazing for single target damage, and they also have some new abilities like Haunt, Chaos Bolt, or Metamorphosis, depending on which spec you choose. Warlocks are very good for open world farming, where you can chain pull mobs because you don't need any mana breaks, and you have a demon that can tank for you, and they are also very good at hunting and farming elite mobs or rares, which is an actual decent way of farming gold in Wrath. I've put Warlocks into the B tier for gold farming, pretty much straight in the middle. Keeping up with classes that have a companion tank, Hunters can go into the B tier as well, having the same strengths as the Warlock, being able to chain pull mobs 24/7 with no downtime whatsoever, and once again hunting for rare mobs. Next up then, let's talk about the class that I will probably be maining, or at least it was my main in TBC, Druid. Druids are fantastic, they've always been fantastic, and they simply get better in Wrath. Having the ability to instantly change into flight form, you can skip the mount cast time, which helps you out, and you can also access herb and mining spawns that are in awkward positions that most other classes will struggle to obtain. On top of this, Boomkin damage is boosted by a lot, making Boomkins very viable for AoE farming, and with abilities such as Moonfire you can tag mobs incredibly fast, and Starfall's damage is boosted, so all you have to do is dot everything, pop Starfall, and it dies. If you prefer single target farming or chain farming, Feral damage is also boosted by quite a bit, so pretty much every aspect of the Druid is better in Wrath than it was in TBC, and it was very good in TBC as well. Overall I've put the Druids into S tier right next to Paladins and Mages. Next up then, let's talk about a controversial placement, Warriors. I've decided to put Warriors into B tier, and originally I was going to place them far worse, but when I was leveling up on the recent Frostmourne survey, I was leveling up pretty fast, and when I got to level 80, I went to the Lashers in Wintergrasp thinking I would get their ultimate, I would be there all to myself, when I saw a Protection Warrior farming at incredible efficiency, taking almost no damage, and pulling several mobs in the same pull for them to burst them down incredibly quick. As a Protection Warrior, the Protection Warrior receives quite a couple of notable changes in Wrath, which I guess is worth covering in a future video, but for now all I'll say is that Protection Warriors are actually way better than I thought for gold farming, which secures them a B tier placement on my list. Now let's talk about the hero class of the expansion, the Death Knight. Death Knights are pretty versatile, using their On a Pale Horse talent. They can fly around faster than anyone else except the Paladin, making them actually decent at herbalism and mining farming, and having 3 different specs to choose from, you always have a spec to go for any type of farming. Blood can be good for soaking damage and slowly killing mobs, alternatively if you just struggle with survival in general, which might depend on your gear, while Frost or Unholy can be used once you have a little bit more gear, for more damage output and general better farming efficiency. I've decided to put Death Knights into the A tier, mostly because they are really good at open world gold farms as well as gathering professions, and if boosting becomes a thing, Blood Death Knights can also do some alternative boosts as well. Rogues have received a pretty big nerf when it comes to gold farming in Wrath compared to TBC, and that is because stealth farming is a lot less viable in Wrath compared to TBC. There's a lot less chests inside dungeons. They are generally more guarded by stronger monsters, which makes them very difficult to obtain solo until late phases, and there's less opportunities for stealth farming, herbalism and mining as well. I am not saying it's not possible. There's herbalism spawns inside the Nexus, and there's mining spawns inside Halls of Stone. I'm just saying that generally it is not worth it, and that actually puts rogues down to the C tier for gold farming, in my opinion. There's an argument to be made for pickpocketing and other stealth farm options, but generally I just don't see it being that profitable, so yeah, C tier. Another class that I put into C tier is Shamans, and I was actually going to put them even lower than that until I gave myself full best in slot gear and ran around on my Spell Enhancement Shaman, a combination of Enhancement Shaman and Spell Power, utilizing Fire Nova damage and Maelstrom weapon charges to deal massive damage with Chain Lightning, and it's actually so much fun, and you can do both AoE and single target pulls, as well as whenever you need to, you can use those Maelstrom charges to instantly heal yourself, allowing constant pulling 24/7. So the last class for today, Priests. Honestly, there's not too much to say here. I've put them into D tier because I honestly don't see any upsides to being a priest for gold farming compared to any of the other classes. There is one argument to be made for Shadow Priest being able to dot up a lot of mobs and kite them around for kind of like a boomkin with Moonfire, but they do lack that huge Starfall burst damage. And yeah, that is pretty much my tier list for gold farming and how I would rank the classes compared to each other. Make sure you let me know how wrong I am in the comments down below, and make sure you are subscribed to the channel as there's lots more Wrath videos coming out and you don't want to miss them. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.